The first thing to go is the sense of financial security. For most middle-class families, this means a steady paycheck, a savings account, and maybe a little extra for emergencies or vacations. But when collapse hits, jobs vanish, wages are slashed, and savings evaporate sometimes overnight. Inflation eats away at purchasing power, and the safety net of unemployment benefits or government aid is stretched thin or disappears entirely. Suddenly, the cushion that once felt so solid is gone, replaced by anxiety and uncertainty. In Argentina's 2001 crisis, middle-class professionals found themselves lining up for food. Their bank accounts frozen, their savings devalued by government decree. The lesson? Financial security is only as strong as the system supporting it, and when that system cracks, the middle class is often the first to feel the shock. The illusion of stability can disappear in a matter of days, leaving families scrambling to cover basic needs and wondering how quickly everything they worked for could unravel. It's a harsh reminder that true security isn't just about what you've saved, but how prepared you are to adapt when the world changes overnight for generations. Owning a home has been the ultimate symbol of middle-class success. But in an economic collapse, that dream can quickly turn into a nightmare. As property values plummet and mortgage payments remain fixed, homeowners find themselves underwater, owing more than their house is worth. Foreclosures spike, and families are forced to sell at a loss or walk away entirely, leaving behind not just a house but years of memories and hard work. Even those who manage to keep their homes face rising property taxes, mounting maintenance costs, and the ever-present risk that a job loss will make payments impossible. In the U.S. housing crash of 2008, millions of middle-class families lost their homes, wiping out decades of savings and stability in a matter of months. The harsh truth is that in a crisis, a house is only an asset if you can afford to keep it. Otherwise, it becomes a liability, one that can drag you down just when you need flexibility the most. The very thing that once represented security can become a heavy anchor, making it harder to adapt, relocate, or recover when the world turns upside down. Credit cards, personal loans, and lines of credit are the invisible engines that power middle-class lifestyles. They smooth out rough patches, fund big purchases, and provide a sense of control and flexibility. But during economic collapse, access to credit dries up fast. Banks tighten lending standards, lower credit limits, or cancel cards altogether, sometimes with little or no warning. Suddenly, the lifeline that once bridged the gap between paychecks is gone. Without credit, families struggle to cover emergencies, keep up with bills, or maintain their standard of living. The safety net that once felt reliable vanishes, leaving many scrambling to find alternatives. Worse, those who relied too heavily on debt find themselves trapped, unable to refinance, consolidate, or escape mounting interest payments as rates rise and options shrink. In every crisis, the middle class learns the hard way that credit is a privilege, not a right, and it can disappear just when it's needed most. The lesson is clear. In uncertain times, the less you depend on borrowed money, the more resilient you'll be when the system suddenly changes the rules. Economic collapse doesn't just take away things, it erodes identity. The middle class is built on routines, the morning commute, the after-school activities, the annual vacation, the sense of belonging to a stable community. When collapse hits, these routines unravel. Job loss, foreclosure, and financial stress strain relationships and shatter social networks. The stigma of falling behind can be as painful as the material losses, as families who once felt secure now struggle with embarrassment and isolation. Children are pulled from extracurriculars, families move to cheaper neighborhoods, and the sense of upward mobility is replaced by fear of a downward spiral. In Greece's debt crisis, formerly comfortable families found themselves relying on food banks and charity for the first time, their sense of self-worth shaken. The loss of social status and stability is a silent wound, one that takes years to heal, if it ever does. It's a reminder that economic collapse isn't just about numbers on a balance sheet. It's about the loss of community, confidence, and the very identity that once defined the middle class. Perhaps the most devastating loss is the loss of future opportunities. The middle class is defined by hope, the belief that tomorrow will be better, that children will have more than their parents, that hard work will be rewarded. Economic collapse shatters this hope. College plans are put on hold, retirement savings are raided, and dreams of starting a business or traveling the world are shelved indefinitely. Young people face a job market with fewer openings and lower wages, while older workers struggle to find new roles after layoffs. The horizon shrinks and survival replaces ambition. Families that once planned for growth and progress are forced to focus on getting through the day, not building for the future. In every collapse, the greatest casualty is often the future itself, the sense that progress is possible, and that sacrifice will pay off. When hope is lost, it's not just bank accounts that suffer, but the spirit and drive that once fueled the middle class. Rebuilding that sense of possibility can take a generation or more, and for many, it's the hardest loss of all. So, what can you do to protect yourself and your family from these losses? The first step is awareness, understanding that the middle class is not immune to crisis, and that the things you take for granted can disappear overnight. Build resilience by diversifying your income, reducing debt, and keeping your skills sharp and adaptable. Don't rely solely on home equity or easy credit. Focus on liquidity and flexibility so you can respond quickly to changing circumstances. Strengthen your social networks, because community support can be a lifeline in tough times. And don't be afraid to ask for help or offer it to others. Most importantly, keep your sense of hope alive by setting realistic goals and being willing to adapt as circumstances change. Economic collapse is a test of character as much as resources. The middle class may lose a lot during crisis, but those who survive and even thrive are the ones who prepare, adapt, and refuse to give up on the future. If you found this helpful, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments, and subscribe for more practical, myth-busting financial analysis. The world is uncertain, but with the right mindset and preparation, you can face whatever comes next and help rebuild a better future for yourself and those around you. The middle class is often seen as the safest place to be, neither rich enough to be targeted nor poor enough to be ignored. But history shows that the middle class is actually the most exposed when the system breaks down. Why? Because the middle class is deeply invested in the formal economy. Their wealth is tied up in homes, pensions, and savings accounts. Their jobs depend on stable markets and functioning institutions. When those institutions falter, the middle class is left holding the bag. The rich have diversified assets, offshore accounts, and global connections that let them move money and opportunity across borders. The poor are used to surviving on less and often have informal networks, barter systems, and community ties to fall back on. But the middle class? They're the ones who believed in the system, and they're the ones who feel the betrayal most acutely when it fails. Their security is built on trust in rules, contracts, and promises that can vanish overnight. When the pillars of the formal economy crack, it's the middle class that feels the shockwaves first and hardest. Forced to adapt to a reality they never expected to face, economic collapse isn't just a financial event. It's a psychological earthquake. For the middle class, the loss of security, status, and routine can trigger intense stress, anxiety, and even depression. There's a deep sense of shame that comes with falling behind, especially when friends and neighbors are struggling too. Social pressure to maintain appearances can drive families deeper into debt or denial, making the eventual reckoning even harder. In Japan's lost decade, suicide rates spiked as middle-class men lost jobs and felt unable to provide for their families. In the U.S., the opioid crisis has been linked in part to economic despair in once prosperous communities. The emotional toll of collapse can be invisible but devastating, straining marriages, isolating individuals, and eroding the sense of community that once held neighborhoods together. The lesson? Protecting your mental health is just as important as protecting your bank account. Seek support, talk openly about challenges, and remember, you're not alone. In times of crisis, reaching out for help and supporting others can be the difference between despair and resilience, one of the most overlooked losses during economic collapse is the loss of trust. The middle class relies on institutions, banks, governments, schools, and the media to provide stability and guidance. When those institutions fail, trust evaporates. People become suspicious of official narratives, rumors spread, and conspiracy theories take root. In Greece, trust in government plummeted during the debt crisis, fueling protests and political upheaval. In Venezuela, official inflation numbers became a joke, and people turned to black market rates and word of mouth for real information. When trust is lost, even good policies are met with skepticism, and communities become fragmented as everyone looks out for themselves. The collapse of trust makes recovery harder because rebuilding a society requires cooperation and belief in a shared future. Without trust, it's difficult to organize, to rebuild, or to move forward together. The takeaway? Diversify your sources of information, stay skeptical but not cynical, and look for leaders formal or informal who act with integrity. In uncertain times, trust is both fragile and essential. Protecting it and knowing where to find it can make all the difference. Education has long been the ticket to upward mobility for the middle class. But during economic collapse, the value of education can erode quickly. Tuition becomes unaffordable, student loans become unpayable, and degrees lose their power in a shrinking job market. In Spain's financial crisis, a generation of highly educated young people became known as the lost generation, forced to take low-wage jobs or emigrate in search of opportunity. In the U.S., student debt has become a crushing burden for millions, limiting their ability to buy homes, start families, or invest in the future. The harsh reality is that a diploma alone is no longer a guarantee of security or advancement. The lesson? Skills matter more than credentials. Focus on practical, adaptable skills that are valuable in any economy problem-solving, communication, and the ability to learn new things quickly. In times of uncertainty, those who can adapt, pivot, and offer real value are the ones who find opportunity. Even when the old pathways are blocked, when the formal economy collapses, the informal economy rises. Barter, side hustles, and under-the-table work become the new normal. In Russia's 1990s crisis, people survived by trading goods, offering services, and relying on personal networks for everything from food to repairs. In Zimbabwe, street vendors and black market traders became the backbone of daily life, providing essentials when stores were empty and cash was worthless. The middle class, used to formal jobs and official paychecks, often struggles to adapt, at first clinging to old routines and waiting for things to return to normal. But those who embrace the informal economy by starting small businesses, offering freelance services, or trading skills find new ways to survive and even thrive. Flexibility and creativity become more valuable than any job title. The ability to spot opportunities, solve problems, and build relationships outside the system is what separates those who get stuck from those who move forward. In a world where the rules have changed, adaptability isn't just an advantage, it's a necessity. In every collapse, the strongest communities survive best. Mutual aid, neighbors helping neighbors, families pooling resources, and communities organizing for self-defense or shared food production becomes essential. In Detroit's decline, urban gardens and community groups helped residents feed themselves and stay safe. When grocery stores closed and city services failed, in Argentina, barter clubs and neighborhood assemblies provided support, goods, and a sense of belonging when the government couldn't. The middle class, often used to individualism and self-reliance, must learn to ask for help and offer it in return. Pride and privacy can be barriers, but in a crisis, isolation is dangerous. Building strong community ties before a crisis hits is one of the best ways to protect yourself and your loved ones. When resources are scarce, trust and cooperation become the most valuable assets of all. The lesson is clear: survival is a team sport, and those who invest in relationships and community resilience are far more likely to weather the storm. Governments can be both a lifeline and a liability during collapse. Sometimes emergency aid, food programs, or job creation schemes provide real relief and help stabilize communities in crisis. Other times, government action makes things worse through corruption, incompetence, or outright repression. In some cases, governments freeze bank accounts, seize assets, or impose capital controls that hurt the middle class most, leaving families unable to access their own money or move resources to safety. History is full of examples where well-intentioned policies backfired or where desperate leaders prioritized their own survival over the well-being of citizens. The lesson? Don't rely solely on government promises. Stay informed about policy changes. Diversify your assets across different forms and locations, and be ready to adapt quickly if the rules change overnight. Build your own safety nets and contingency plans because in a true crisis, self-reliance and flexibility are just as important as any official support. The people who survive and even thrive during collapse are the ones who adapt fastest. In every crisis, there are stories of resilience. The teacher who starts a tutoring business when schools close, the mechanic who repairs bikes when cars become too expensive to run, the family who transforms their backyard into a vegetable garden to feed themselves and their neighbors. In Cuba's special period, resourcefulness became a way of life. People learned to fix, reuse, and repurpose everything, turning scarcity into innovation. In Greece, families moved in together to share costs and support each other, rediscovering the strength of extended family and community. The key is to stay flexible, keep learning, and look for opportunities in chaos. Those who are willing to pivot, try new things, and let go of old expectations are the ones who find new paths forward. The middle class may lose a lot, but those who adapt can build something new from the ashes, sometimes stronger, more connected, and more resilient than before. Start by keeping enough cash on hand to cover several months of essential expenses: rent, food, utilities, and medicine. But don't keep it all in one place or one currency. Spread your savings between a secure bank, a small stash at home, and perhaps even a little in a stable foreign currency if you can. In a crisis, liquidity and flexibility are more valuable than chasing high returns. Your emergency fund is your first line of defense against sudden shocks. Don't rely on a single paycheck. Develop side hustles, freelance skills, or small businesses that can survive even if your main job disappears. Whether it's tutoring, online work, repairs, or selling homemade goods, multiple income streams make you more resilient. In every collapse, those who adapt quickly and find new ways to earn are the ones who stay afloat. Pay down high-interest debt aggressively. The less you owe, the more freedom you'll have to make decisions when times get tough. Debt is a chain that can drag you down in a crisis, especially if your income drops or interest rates spike. Make a plan to eliminate credit cards, payday loans, and other expensive obligations as soon as possible. Invest in relationships with family, friends, and neighbors. Build trust and be willing to help others because in a crisis, community is everything. The people you can count on and who can count on you are your real safety net. Share resources, skills, and information. The stronger your network, the more options you'll have when things go wrong. Focus on skills that are valuable in any economy: gardening, repair, first aid, negotiation, and adaptability. Take a class, watch tutorials, or ask a neighbor to teach you. The more you can do for yourself and others, the less dependent you'll be on systems that might fail. Practical skills are a form of wealth that can't be taken away. Follow multiple sources of news, both local and international. Be skeptical of rumors, but don't ignore warning signs. In a crisis, information is power. Know what's happening in your community and the wider world, and be ready to act if you see trouble coming. Don't get caught off guard by relying on a single narrative. Have backup plans for food, water, energy, and communication. Don't assume the grid will always be up or that stores will always be stocked. Store some non-perishable food, keep water filters or purification tablets handy, and have a way to charge your phone or radio without electricity. Think through what you'd do if the basics suddenly became unavailable. Practice stress management, mindfulness, and gratitude. Seek support when needed, whether from friends, family, or professionals. Economic collapse is as much a psychological challenge as a financial one. Take care of your mind and spirit and help others do the same. Resilience starts from within. If things get bad, flexibility is key. Have a plan for relocation, even if you hope you'll never need it. Know where you could go, another city, a relative's home, or even another country. Keep important documents, some cash, and essentials packed and ready. The ability to move quickly can be the difference between safety and disaster. Set realistic goals. Celebrate small wins, and remember that every crisis eventually ends. The future belongs to those who refuse to give up. Even in the darkest times, hope is a powerful force. Stay focused on what you can control, adapt as needed, and keep looking for opportunities to rebuild and grow. Survival is just the beginning. Resilience is about finding a way to thrive again. Economic collapse is a test of everything the middle class holds dear: security, stability, and the promise of a better future. The losses are real and the pain is deep, but history shows that survival is possible and even renewal. The key is to let go of old assumptions, embrace adaptability, and focus on what you can control. Build resilience in your finances, your skills, your relationships, and your mindset. Don't wait for someone else to save you. Start preparing now. The world is uncertain, but with the right preparation and attitude, you can weather any storm and help rebuild a stronger, more resilient future for yourself and your community. If you found this helpful, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments, and subscribe for more practical, myth-busting financial analysis. The world may be changing, but with the right mindset and preparation, you can face whatever comes next and help others do the same. Remember, resilience isn't just about surviving the storm. It's about learning, adapting, and coming out stronger on the other side.